Alumni, is it possible that God is keeping anniversaries that you've long since forgotten? What does that even mean? I mean, are there places where God has been historically faithful to you, but maybe you missed them in the moment, but if you spent a little extra time reflecting, you might be able to see how he was at work then and how he's continuing to work in your life today. Today, we return to the topic of doubt with Dr. Heather Thompson Day, but we're looking at what happens after doubt. What does it look like when God shows up, but maybe we don't notice it until after the fact? Heather shares how reflection becomes revelation and how growth rarely comes through instant answers, but through patient faith. Welcome to After 4, your podcast for navigating life after graduation. I'm your host and guide, John Steele, and this one's for you, alumni. Heather, as you are able to look back on some of those things, are there places where you can identify, like, this is how God showed up, or this is the way that in the midst of doubt, even if I can't see it in that moment, this is the way that I tend to notice that God shows up when I look back and sort of re-observe those moments with a little bit of distance? Like, are there ways that God shows himself to you in these places of doubt that you've experienced?
Yeah. So something I'm a big fan of, a spiritual practice of writing everything down and putting the dates. I write down everything. I mean, my darkest days I'll write down, and my best days I'll write down. Or if I just feel like the Spirit is putting a dream or something on my heart, I'll write that down. I'll put the date. Yeah. And then what I have found, and I really challenge people to do this because it changes your faith. I have found that God will keep anniversaries with me that I had long since forgot. So the day, I'll just give one example. The day I preached my first sermon, the Lord sent somebody to fund my entire ministry this year, which is the reason I'm now able to do this full time and not go back to teaching. He sent somebody to make a donation to fund my entire ministry on the day I preached my first sermon, but 12 years later, the anniversary. And the only reason I know that is because I had written it down. And once I started to notice, oh my goodness, God really pays attention to the details of my life. I think he's doing it for everybody. I think most of us aren't writing it down. So we're just not, we're like, thank you. But we're not realizing, no. He's like, wait, no, you missed. Did you not see you on April 8, 1994, you said, God, you don't hear me. And now on April 8, 2025, I've shown you how I've been listening to you the whole time. And I don't want you to miss that.
Wow.
Right? Write it down. God will keep anniversaries with you that you long since forgot about.
Yes. I keep being reminded of this. This is not exactly the same thing, but I think it's in a similar spirit. I keep being reminded of the practice of the daily examine and just what a powerful thing that is to, like, wherever that is. Most people talk about at the end of your day before you go to bed, to take 5 minutes and to just recount the day and to say, where are the places that I noticed God? Where are the places that maybe I missed him? And what does it look like to again, and maybe to do it out loud, as you've already encouraged us, and to sort of wire our brain to continue watching for God and to remember and to recall, so that hopefully further down the road, especially if we're writing it down also, we are better able to recall those moments, but also we are priming our brain in the moment to be more likely to spot God, even in the difficult places, and to say, like, wow, this really sucked, but I know that God was walking through it with me. Even though it was a bad or a hard moment. And maybe 5 years from now, I'll look back and say, this was God's mercy that this didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. But I wonder that, again, the idea of a daily exam and taking time to recall and to recount and to remember, like, God, this is where you were, and this is where I'm still waiting for you to show up. That feels like a powerful practice.
Yes. There's so many beautiful spiritual practices that have just changed, what we call faith. I really, and I'll say this too, faith for me is not something I give God. It's something that God gives back to me. Right. Yeah. So faith is my realizing who God has been all along. And once I realize that, it strengthens me in this present circumstance where I've yet to see it. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm going to cash in on all the deposits that God already made in my life along the way.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. That's yes. I mean, God is the author and the perfecter of our faith.
There you go. Yes. Ooh, I like that verse. Yeah. It's proof for me.
There you go. There you go. I mean, how can we really claim that when he is the one who started it to begin with, and who makes it better and better and better over time?
And so then what I'm saying is, it's okay to say, hey, I need you to give me experiences where I see you as faithful.
Yes.
Give me those experiences. And I just think God's like, bet.
Yeah. Well, isn't that one of the places that he says, like, test me, test me on this, that I'm not gonna, like, there are right ways and wrong ways to test God. And when it comes to seeing his faithfulness, like, that's one of those places to say, God, will you please just show up so that I can see your faithfulness at work here?
Yes, but give it time. Because we're living in an instant gratification culture where I send you a text and you text me right back and my phone dings. And in my experience, God doesn't operate that way.
Right.
I mean, nature has been revealing God this entire time, and there's nothing you're going to see that doesn't take time to grow.
Right.
Yes. So expect God, be patient. He's going to reveal himself over time. And there's something about that too, our willingness to keep showing up day after day after day after day after day that I think he delights in. Yeah.
Well, even Moses, before he goes back to Egypt, he's like, how will I know that this is real, what you're asking me to do here? And God says, like, the proof is that you'll come back and worship me on this mountain. It's like, you got a whole lot of stuff to do, and then you'll know that this was legit because later on you'll be back here. Yeah. But you got to do the other stuff first. Like, there was all of this waiting and working that needed to happen on Moses's part before that confirmation happened of worshiping God on that mountain again. Right. After bringing the people out of Egypt. Yeah, that it takes time. We have to be willing to wait. And we are oftentimes people who don't do that, well. Which really takes me to another question that I have for you, Heather. In your experience, how do we develop the wisdom and the grit that we need to navigate doubt well? Like to lean in when we're experiencing doubt, when we're waiting for God's faithfulness to show up in a very evident way. Like, how do we grow in those things?
I mean, how long does it take to grow physically?
A lifetime?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it takes a year, I think, it takes 6 months to grow a single inch, right? So it's like, this is what I'm saying. This is a relationship with God is a journey.
Yeah.
Using Moses, as you just said, Moses is 80. You think that when Moses is in the palace, he doesn't think, oh, God's going to use me? Of course he does.
Yeah.
He thinks I've been positioned. And it's another 40 years before, once he flees and tries to do it out of his own strength, as we talked about in the beginning, it's another 40 years before God says, okay, now you're ready. What? I'm 80 now, bro. Like, I don't even want to do this anymore. That's what he says. Like, I send someone else.
Right.
So man, how do we grow in wisdom? You have to commit yourself to the journey.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen. I mean, I just want to tell you right off the jump, it's not going to happen I just think back to, I try to read my Bible cover to cover every year. Okay. And there are things that I did not see on time 1, 2, 3, 4 that I now see on time 16, right? Like, this is a journey and a relationship that you're going to build over time, and just surrender yourself to a God who isn't rushed, who is timeless.
Yes.
Right. Yes. But and sometimes you're going to get there quicker if you slow down. There are things that my mentor said to me once. He said, Heather, you have all the talent. God's not waiting on you to be more talented. He's waiting on you to have more experiences with him.
Wow.
Experience can't be rushed. Like, what's going to prepare me for life? Life.
Yeah. Right.
Fully living my life is what prepares me to do what I'm going to do later in my life.
Yes. On the job training.
Yes. So just like, I guess what I would say to somebody is like, surrender to where you are right now. Don't like even this space. Okay. So we're talking about, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. Like, so surrender to this day right now. Right. What day is it today? Is it Wednesday? Is it Tuesday?
It's Tuesday. Yeah.
Surrender to Tuesday, awesome. And to this space of, God, are you going to show up? I have no idea what you're going to call me to. I don't know where my job's going to be. I don't know if I'm even going to live in this town in 3 months. Surrender to that space and say, what are you teaching me in this moment? And I'm telling you, a person who lives their life like that, day after day after day after day, 10 years from now, you're going to look back and people are going to say, how did you get so wise? Well, how do I tell? I just lived it with the Lord. I walked on this journey with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of what you're sharing makes me think I've spent a lot of time over the last few years thinking about the first few verses of Psalm 1, about talking about the person who is blessed, and that, it's not somebody who does this, or this, but it's somebody they're like, they meditate on God's word day and night. They lean into God's word. And those people are like a tree planted by streams of water. They bear fruit in season, in its season, not all the time, but in its season, which I think is really interesting, that its leaves don't wither. And then it says, in everything that they do prospers. And so in my brain, I've thought about that prosper word, that I've been like, okay, so everything I do is going to be successful. That says, at least in the NIV, it says, in everything that they do, they will prosper. And I've started, my mind has been changing a bit about this, that like, no, not everything that you do is going to be successful, but you will keep on thriving in the Lord because you were planted by streams of water. When the rainy season comes, when the drought comes, when whatever good or bad thing comes by, that you will continue moving forward in life and in health with the Lord, because you are planted by that stream of water. And that will prepare you for the day that fruit does develop. You will be ready because you were planted with the Lord there. And but there will be seasons where rough things are happening around you, and that's just the way that it goes. But you will weather those storms. You will weather those droughts because you are drawing in the goodness of the Lord. Your life is coming from the Lord through all of those seasons.
What did it look like for Jesus to prosper? At the height of his ministry, he has about 150 people.
Yeah.
Our mega churches today would say you're a failure.
Right.
What does prospering look like in an upside down kingdom from heaven's perspective? And that, I'm telling you, I just think there's so much we don't see clearly, because prospering is my faithfulness despite my circumstances, not because of them.
Right.
That's prosper.
Yeah.
Jesus is in the garden saying, Lord, like, are we sure we have to do this? Right.
Yeah.
But he stays. Jesus is preparing the entire time for his death. I just think 11 of the 12 disciples are brutally murdered. I just think American Christianity isn't honest with itself about what prospering in an upside down kingdom looks like. And I really think what it looks like is my willingness to be a blessing, even when I don't feel like I'm receiving one. Yeah. My willingness to bring kindness and love and mercy and joy, even when I don't feel like I'm getting that back. Loving my enemies. That is spiritual prosperity.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's available to you at any time.
Right. Yes. And as we've been discussing, that doubt is a part of that process. And what does it look like to continue being a blessing in the midst of, boy, I don't necessarily feel like I'm getting the resources I need to believe what I'm doing or what I say I'm supposed to do, but I'm going to continue being a blessing.
Can I tell you,
please,
John, I really think that is a blessing that only belongs to the righteous. The wicked could not conceive of being a blessing when I'm not receiving one.
Yeah.
And that is why God's presence is available to the righteous at any time, because I don't have to believe that God is blessing me in order to be a blessing. And when I choose to be a blessing, God is with me. Right? Like this is available to us at all times, despite our circumstances. And I just want to hammer this home because maybe I've already said it, but I just want to make sure people receive it. That like doubt is, I don't know if it's possible in this earthly system with spiritual warfare to not experience it.
Yes.
It's about, but what are you going to do? Right? Like there's times I've gone on prayer walks and not said a word. And my faith was in my feet.
Yeah.
The doubts were going, but my feet got up and I said, I'm just going to walk this block with you, Lord. Right. Yeah. And that was my faith. And I think that's what God is looking. It's not that doubt is never going to come or that doubt is now a symbol of my weakness. Doubt is just part of the human experience. But what are you going to choose to do despite it. That's your faith.
Yeah. I do believe. Help me with my unbelief.
Yes.
Like that those things can live side by side.
Yes.
They can and they do and they will. Like
Yes.
forever. That's just part of it. Doubt is normal. It's okay.
It's normal.
Yeah. What do we do? What do we do in the midst of it? That's what really matters.
Yes.
Yeah. Heather, you've given us so many really amazing things to think about. I'm gonna tempt fate here though, and ask, do you have a final piece of advice or encouragement thinking about young alumni in their first year of life after graduation who are experiencing doubt or who will? Maybe they're just flying high. They're super excited about, like, the best part of my life is about to start. Eventually, they will reach a moment where they're like, oh no, the gas has run out of the tank and now I'm not so sure anymore. Is there a final piece of advice or encouragement that you would give to our young alumni as they experience those things?
Yeah. Here's what I would say. I really believe that there are some doors or blessings that only gratitude can unlock. And there are some doors and blessings that only mercy can unlock. And there are some doors and blessings that only hope can unlock. And so whatever it is that I'm looking for in my life, so friend, whatever it is you're hoping God does for you, if you're needing God to network on your behalf, network on behalf of someone else. And I really believe that makes us, and I know you're thinking, but I don't have anything. But I promise you there is somebody who needs what you have to offer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wherever your money is at. I do this. Like, if I need money, I will find somebody I can give money to. Because I think that's what I'm saying about choosing to believe in God's goodness, even when I can't see it. I think it's like some spiritual deposits that God does bring back to us. And I'm not saying instantly.
Right.
But when we live in this space of just continuing, not getting weary of doing good, we prosper.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what I would say.
I love that. I think that's really great. Don't tire of doing good. That feels like a really good, whether good is coming your way or not.
Yes.
Keep offering good to others. Generosity, mercy. Humility. I love those invitations. What a great invitation to continue walking in the way of Jesus, who really didn't receive a lot from the people around him, and continued giving
and continued to
everything.
Do it.
Like literally
down to
everything.
his life. Yes.
Exactly. Yes. May we be like that in a time and in a culture, in a context that does not disciple us to live that way.
Right.
May we live that way. Heather, you've recently released a book. As you're an author. I know you've released a number of books, and one of them with InterVarsity Press a while back.
Yeah.
But you have just released a book though, and I think there's some of these kinds of things that come up in this book. I think you're speaking from a lot of experience and research. Please tell us about the work that you've done with this book, and any other ways that our alumni can continue engaging with your work and your teaching, if they'd like to after hearing you share some of these things.
Yeah. So Martin B. Copenhaver found that Jesus asks far more questions than he gives answers. He asks over 300 questions. I think it's 307. Of the 183 questions he is asked, he only directly answers 3 of them. Gosh. So Jesus seems to believe that questions are more important than answers, because questions build relationship. The church, by the way, does it the opposite. We love an answer. Oh, yeah. We are very uncomfortable with questions, right? Yeah. Jesus does just the opposite, right? And so the first question that God asked me to ask is, what could I be getting wrong? Lord, please search my heart. What could I be getting wrong? And reveal it to me so that I can live this thing out more fully. And that's what the book is. It's called What If I'm Wrong? And it's me walking through, it was about 3 years of doubt and darkness and uncertainty, and realizing that when you think God has stepped back, often it's an invitation for you to step forward. Wow. Right? Like, oh my goodness, it's just the most precious book. And please read it to the end, because there's a miracle at the end. That when I started the book, I was writing, honestly, a book about just what to do when it feels like nothing changes and your circumstances, don't let your circumstances defeat you. And then the Lord was like, you will not write that book And he gave me this incredible miracle that's just unbelievable at the end of the book that I share. So I just hope it encourages people if they're going through a season of questions that it's okay. And actually, Jesus welcomes our questions, and he had quite a few himself.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, Heather, I love that because once again, I mentioned this at the top, but I really feel like there's just a number of experiences and work that you're doing that our alumni can really identify with right now in this big season of change, this big season of questions. And I think that there's just a lot of encouragement and hope that they could receive from reading this book. And
I hope so.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experiences, and just it's been a lot of fun just to get to hang out with you, Heather. I've really enjoyed our time together.
Thank you so much for having me.
Alumni, surrender to Tuesday. Trust that God is at work today in your overwhelming job, in your frustrating church shopping, in your lonesome Friday evenings, and in the parts of life that just feel fractured and broken. These are the moments that weeks, months, years from now, you'll be able to look back on and say, wow, now I can see it. God was moving in mysterious ways and was making a path for me. Write down the things that you're asking God, and write down the moments when you realize that He's answered you. God is faithful. Just wait and see, alumni. Heather, thanks so much for joining us for these last couple episodes. I'm so grateful for your generous investment of time and wisdom. Alumni, if you'd like to follow more of Heather's work, check the show notes for links to her website, to her Instagram, and her book, What If I'm Wrong? Navigating the Waves of Fear and Failure. And come back next week for a very real life story from an alumna like you about her faith journey after graduation. It has not been easy, and it is still not easy. We're going to chat about the very real challenges and the very real hope that coexist in our faith lives after graduation. Don't miss it. Until then, consider sharing this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and I will. Thanks for listening to After 4. This podcast is brought to you by the InterVarsity Alumni Relations Team, hosted and produced by John Steele, production assistance by Mike Santera, edited by Caleb Leppert, and our After 4 theme music was written and performed by John Steele.